Over the last 3 years now that we've been farming self-sufficiency on this farm, we've thought about a couple of things, and we've actually gone through a long process until we've reached where we are now. And so I was thinking about what are some of the common mistakes that beginner farmers made, that we also made at that time. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot because that made our farming journey take a little bit longer, because when you do mistakes, you learn from them and then you have to correct them. One of the most consistent things that we do on this farm is we do a lot of research. And that means, of course, consulting other farmers, going online, watching other people's videos, and a lot of other things like last with government organizations like Caltro, and a lot of other things. So last week I came across some interesting comment on one of the videos that I was watching online, and there was this farmer who had done it, I think, for about between 10 and 15 years, dairy farming. And he was saying, like now he has about what, 10 cows that consistently give him about 30 liters per day. So hence 300 liters of milk per day. And you could see the comments there, people saying, oh, farming is a scam. Oh, I did this, I did whatever, cabbages for the first time and I got burnt and I'll never do it again. A lot of negative comments. But then I thought to myself, this farmer has done it for 15 years. Most likely, and I'm sure 100%, that during the first few years, he was not getting those 300 liters consistently, because farming is a process. It's something. It's something that you learn. It's like your career. It's you go for trainings. You either go to school, add some more knowledge, another qualification. You make mistakes. You learn from those mistakes. So farming is the same like all other careers that people have. And I thought this farmer, people are critiquing him for saying that, but I believe him because he's gone through the process. And 10 to 15 years is a long time to be in a particular industry. By that time, even if you're doing a normal job, maybe in your career, if you've done it for 15 years, you're probably now a manager. You've grown in it. So this dairy farmer, I actually believe, because I know he's grown in it, and he's stuck with it. And so I thought, what are those common, not common, what are some of the mistakes that we make as beginner farmers that make us become negative about farming at some point, or fail, or take longer to be profitable and all that. And I want to use our own experience. So and I think the first thing that comes across my mind is that people jump into farming, especially beginners, without considering their passion, which is very important. I think the biggest thing about anything that we do in this world is passion, and farming needs passion too. What do I mean by passion? For me, and in my perspective, I think passion is something that you really love. Like if you're keeping animals, whatever, or poultry like chicken or goats like us over here, you must love those animals. You must love doing it. You must love waking up in the morning and just looking at your goats, feeding them, cleaning their house. You must enjoy doing it. And I feel like most people go into farming without the passion, because it's very easy to give up without passion. And what do I mean by this? I'll give you an example. Farming is not linear. Like it's not linear. It's not straightforward. We've kept chicken on this farm. There's a time that when we're starting, disease came, we lost about 20 chicken. If you don't have passion, you'll give up immediately and go move on to something else. But we loved what we were doing so much that we learned from that. We learned how to use what we call like aloe vera and pepper and ginger to improve their immunity, so that when diseases come, they can actually fight them. And we also learned on how to construct a proper housing for them where there's enough air circulation and it's easier to clean. So because we had the passion, we took time to learn how to prevent more deaths in future, because we wanted to keep doing what we loved. And I feel that had it not been for the passion, we would have actually given up. But then I know a lot of people who've done that. I know a lot of people who went out and did one farming project, probably planted maybe watermelons, and you failed. and they never touched it again. So I feel like passion is the greatest thing for any beginner farmer to consider. Do you actually love doing this? Are you going to be committed 100%? Are you willing to suffer setbacks but still maintain whatever you want to do and keep track and learn from that and keep going at it? So I feel like the first mistake beginners farmer make is passion. They don't consider their passion, which is very important. Another thing too, another mistake, I feel that and that's, I'm giving an experience again, is if you're keeping, whatever you're keeping, either it's chicken or goats like us over here, and chicken, the ones you're keeping here, it's not choosing the right breed. Now, the right breed means you consider a lot of factors. It depends again. Are you like for chicken, do you want to keep them for meat or for eggs or multi-purpose? Do you want to enjoy like kienyeji chicken that are free range? You want to enjoy the very nice eggs, and of course, you know, if you slaughter them before around 5 months or 6 months, the meat is still very soft. So you have to consider all those things. Another thing for you to consider for right breed is the climate. For example, the goats we have here come from a hot climate, very hot climate. We bought them from, they were bought in a market in Tana River, and I'm 100% sure they came from some place like Garissa and all that. Think of that climate and then think of the climate here where we are in Kisii, where like for the last month it's been very cold for the whole day. We actually had to struggle to acclimatize these goats. It's taken a lot of money and a lot of time, and we are still not yet there, but we are keeping at it. But it's the breed we wanted, because we wanted goats that grow fast, that also have a nice weight when they are mature for sale. These ones can achieve 55 to 60 kgs. And then we also wanted multi-purpose goats that can give us a bit of milk and meat too. So we chose the right breed for these ones. We would have gone with the local East African, called small East African, but we wanted goats that can achieve a bit more weight. And also we had other plans that, for example, we wanted this breed because in future and in a couple of, I think months, not years, months, we're going to get to try and breed them with either Kalahari or Rabuabak, so we get bigger bodied goats for sale. So the right breed is very important because it can actually disappoint you. You know, you have to consider a lot of things where you have, because I know, like I'm not sure, I'm not a sheep farmer, but I know there are some breeds of sheep that like very cold climate. So you have to consider where you are. If you're buying that one, you have to consider where you are. Other it's going to come. I know people have lost animals when they brought them to their farm, either immediately or in a couple of weeks or months, because of choosing the wrong breed, not understanding their local climate. The other mistake I feel that beginners make is market. Like for and again, I always give like an example of us over here. We would have gone for dairy goats initially. If you've been following us, you know the first house constructed was for dairy goats because we wanted to get some milk for the family. But then I researched around how scale up was that, how much could we scale with dairy goats, and I did my research on goat milk market around here, and to my knowledge, it's next to non-existent because of a lot of other factors. People are not exposed to goat milk. They don't know about the advantages like high calcium content, and so they don't, because of lack of that knowledge, people don't consume. You find one or two, but people don't consume goat milk. So imagine if we had bought dairy goats over here, and then they multiply, and we produce maybe, let's just say 20 liters of milk per day. Where we will take all that milk? So that's why our research showed us that the best way to do is to go multi-purpose goats, so we can get milk for the family and a bit more for selling. However, the market for meat here is a lot. Goat meat is one of the favorite meats for people around here. So you have to consider your market. So I'm still thinking like a beginner farmer. It's very easy for you to maybe go in and keep Like we'd have just gone in and kept dairy goats, and then we'd have stuck with the milk. And then what's the next? When you have a lot of milk and you can't sell, now you're struggling because you have to feed your goats, you have to treat your goats, you have to manage your goats properly, you need money. We'd have actually given up at that point, and then we have been very negative farmers out there. So market again is very important for you to do your market research, understand what the local market, and always insist on the local market. It's always easy to sell to your next door neighbors or your village or your nearest town, because sometimes transport is negligible or there's no transport. So that saves you on a lot of costs. So the first market we consider is the local one around here, around wherever you want to base your business in. So as a beginner farmer, whatever you want to go to keep for farming, whatever, even if it's crops, please consider your local market so you don't get disappointed. The other, the other mistake I feel that people make is especially when to do with livestock and chicken, poultry for that matter, is the goats are fighting. Is I think housing. Housing is also very important, because housing for whatever is very important. And I think there's a video on our channel where I discuss housing properly. We learned the first time we started, we had very basic housing, which is very good for you as a beginner, because if you have 5, 10 chicken, you can just have a small shelter somewhere where they can shelter for the night. But if you plan to scale up, then you need proper shelter, because the more the animals or the poultry, now the exposure to diseases and overcrowding, and that leads to stress in the animals or the poultry, and that leads to diseases again. So housing is very important. So and again, how do you uh, how do you consider housing? I think how do you factor in housing as one of the mistakes that you don't want to do as a beginner farmer? You have to have a plan on where you want to go. If you have 10 chicken now and you want to get to 100, 200, 300 chicken, maybe in 6, 7 or a year's time, you need to plan properly. Those chicken need proper housing with well ventilated, easy to clean, well like lit, so light can go in, especially the sun during the day, and a lot of other things. So that's very important. And remember, housing is not a cheap thing. Constructing a chicken house, you have to buy timber, you have to buy nails, you have to buy iron sheets, you have to buy drinkers, you have to buy, if you drink chicken, you have to buy drinkers. It's a big expense. So you have to consider it initially. You have to know those expenses and then consider them as you begin, because so that you don't go in and give, you start with 10 chicken, you have 20, you have 50, and now you look at the cost of constructing a house for them, and now you actually give up and become very bitter again, a bitter farmer, or a bitter, not a farmer, bitter, let me call a business person at that point, because it's very easy to be disappointed if you cannot afford to give your poultry or livestock proper housing. So housing is very important too. It's a mistake that most of us make as beginner farmers. So we had no idea how much it was going to cost us to construct the chicken house. This used to be a chicken house earlier. We converted it to a goat house, but it also took a lot of money, even to just convert from that point from the poultry house to the goat house. But we were ready for it. We had a plan. And already you actually have a plan, because you see now the goats here, this house can carry maybe 35, 40 goats. So we already have a plan in the next 2-3 months time to construct a big house that can carry maybe 200-300 goats, because we know for sure we are committed, we have the passion, and we're going to grow the numbers of goats on this farm. So housing is also very important. Now, another mistake that beginner farmers make, and we also did this and we learned from it, is not clearly doing proper research and understanding the costs involved in maintaining either poultry or crops or livestock. And again, in our case, like goats over here, it's very expensive. You have to feed whatever you're keeping, either goats or poultry or cows or whatever. They need a balanced diet, like a human being. They need minerals. They need, like we said, proper housing, costs money. They need, when they get sick, they need to be treated. A vet. Vets are very expensive. And you also need like medicines for them. So these are costs that you need to sit down as a beginner farmer, do your research properly, write them down, and again feed them into your business plan on where you want to go. If you want to end up with whatever, like we say, 200-300 goats, we need to actually calculate and have an estimate of how much it's going to cost us to manage them in terms of housing, in terms of feeding, in terms of medicines and all that. So it's important as a beginner farmer that you think about these things before. Otherwise, again, as I keep saying, you will start and then your population will grow, and then you look at the cost of managing your whatever you're keeping, either poultry or goats or dairy or anything or any animals, and then you'll be scared again because it's not cheap. It takes resources, it takes time, it takes money, it takes a lot of things. So as a beginner farmer, it's something that you don't need to make that mistake of just being surprised by the expenses involved in managing your farm. Another mistake that beginners usually make is assuming that it's easy to find labor in Kenya. It's not. It's easy to find labor, but honest labor is one of the most difficult things you're going to come across. We've had guys steal eggs from us. We've had guys steal materials from the farm, like iron sheets and all that. It takes a while for you to get someone who can actually work for you honestly. And that's something you can't prevent. You just have to go through it because you have to look for people to work for you. It's not easy in Kenya. So when you get into this, when you plan to get into farming, just know that it's not easy finding labor in Kenya, honest labor that is. We were lucky on this farm, we found someone very honest who's been with us for the last 3 years now. And we can travel anywhere you go, but we don't worry about anything. We were lucky because I know a lot of other people here, we've employed people on the farms and they're really disappointed, or they've seen things that they never knew were going to happen. And that's another thing. It's very easy for you to be discouraged as a beginner farmer when your employees or your staff at the farm start either stealing from you or absconding duty or not doing as you expect them to do. It's one thing that can discourage a beginner farmer very much. So a formula I use to identify good labor, especially from around where we live, because we all know each other. I look at someone, especially how they treat their kids, how they treat their wives, how they live themselves in their own homes. That for me is important. It tells you what kind of person that one is. You know, if you can avoid drunkards and smokers because they need money every day to drink and to smoke, and if you're waiting for you to pay them after 30 days, they're going to steal from you to cut for these other days to eat, to smoke and drink. So it's that's one of the ways I use. I just look at someone, I try to understand where you're coming from, how you live with your kids, how you treat your wife, how you live your life generally. Because people who show progress, like maybe last year this guy had in their home, maybe they have built a new house for themselves, or they have a dairy cow they're taking care of, they sell milk and all that. So that shows that these are progressive people and they understand, and they also understand that it's a process rather than just getting rich quickly. It's not like foolproof, but it's one of the ways to identify a good person, a good farmer, and a good staff or a good laborer at your farm. It helps, I think so, especially if you're in a place like us now. We are in a place where family is, so it's easier to know people around. If you live somewhere if your farm is somewhere where you lease farm, I don't know how you're going to do it, but it's a process. So as a beginner farmer, just get to know these things. No, it's going to be tough. They'll disappoint you, but you look for another one, you learn from that, finally you're going to get someone properly to work for you. So it's one of the mistakes that people actually make. The other thing, I think also for beginner farmers, which we also didn't do at the beginning, is we didn't have a business plan. We didn't sit down and consider this is a business. We're starting small, but we want to be here in 6 months, in 1 year, in 3 years, and all that. It's very important to do that, especially on a serious project like what we have now. Goats here, we know where we want to go. We know at some point we need to do value addition. We know at some point we need to scale up for certain numbers that can actually sustain a business. So a business plan is very important. It shows you where you want to go. And in fact, all these things I mentioned about cost of labor, cost of managing the farm, all that, those are going to be estimates, but you can include in the farm. The business plan will help you understand the journey that you undertaken, where you want to go, and just focus on that. So I feel like a business plan is quite important, especially if you're doing it for business to bring an income to yourself and to your family. Another, let me just say, another, I think mistake that we make is we underestimate the importance of biosecurity. Biosecurity is very important on your farm. Like, it's important to just fence your farm. If you're going to farming, it's important to have a fence around your farm that prevents people from coming in, or other animals or other things that come in and either affect your plants or your animals. You've seen some of our videos where people are stealing maize from us. It's because the other farm is quite big and you've not yet got to the point of facing it. So we've lost maybe even a quarter of the maize we planted there. But if you had fenced it, it would have been better. So imagine if you are just beginner farmers and somebody has stolen that maize from us, we'll be so discouraged and stop farming immediately. So biosecurity is very important. And right now on the farm, we actually fence around here because we don't want any disease to come around from other people who have either goats or cows to affect our goats here. So biosecurity is very important. You might say, I feel like in fact the first thing before I want to farm, the first thing I want to do is fence that area where my farm will be, because that's very important to prevent people from coming in, either just to visit you, or and they can bring diseases they don't know about. It's not intentional, or people just coming to steal, or other animals that can come in and just affect your farm in any way. So biosecurity is very important. It's something not a beginner farmer should not uh, should not assume. So another common mistake that we make is as beginner farmers is what I call phone farming. Phone farming basically does not work. It doesn't work at all. It does not work at all. It works in conjunction with other things. You have to you have to have cameras there. You have frequent visits. You have to it's a lot of things. For me, I feel like phone farming doesn't work. You really have to make as many physical appearances as possible, because you also need to sell your vision to the guys that are working for you. So as a beginner farmer, I don't even feel like you need to do phone farming, because it's going to discourage you very much. You, at the beginning, you need to be there. You need to be there to push, to sell your vision to the people. You need to be there to make sure everything is working properly. Otherwise, you're going to lose your money in a big way. I feel like beginner farmers, it's even us, when we started, we are using phone farming and it didn't work for us. It's not because people are bad or anything, but because you need to sell your vision to the people who are actually working for you. They need to see what you're doing. They need to believe in what you're doing. And I think the only way you can do that is by being there physically. So another mistake I think for beginner farmers is phone farming. You're going to be really discouraged and be one of these bitter people online commenting about other people's farms when they talk about the success they're having. Yeah. There's so many mistakes, but another one I can think of is I don't know what to call it, scams or anything, but it's we fall for this because now with all these things on the internet, it's very easy for you to fall for something and think, let me do this. The way people did kiwi fruit. Is it not kiwi fruit? What dragon fruit? Uh, I I feel that however much you read online, you see things, you hear from friends and all that about certain things being profitable, you have to go a bit further and do your research and understand. Because I feel like, for example, kiwi fruit, how many people actually eat? Not kiwi fruit, sorry, dragon fruit. How many people actually eat dragon fruit? There's a time, remember, even we almost fell for that. There's a time, and at that time, I think the ceilings were going for 10,000. Is it 10,000 per piece? When they're saying one fruit was 900 shillings. So the ceilings, whatever they're called, they're going for 10,000 shillings. We nearly fell for that. Uh, I think it's one of the, I think this is one of the commonest mistakes that beginner farmers make. You hear of something, you hear it's selling, the profits, the margins are huge, or the selling price is huge, and then you fall for that and immediately run to that product and start farming. I think you need to do a bit more research before how sustainable is the market, for example, for that particular product, because You know the story, especially on dragon fruit. You know the story currently. I've seen people hawking them around. Personally, I've never tested dragon fruit. Um, and so that's one of the mistakes people fall for. You know, you hear something is hot cake now and you rush and start farming it. And by the time you probably yours is maturing, you find the price has dipped and you spend so much money farming for it. And you can imagine if you're a beginner farmer, that really discourages you and kills your farming dream completely. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things, the mistakes I've had beginner farmers make. And so these are some of the mistakes that you can make as a beginner farmer. Hopefully this video has been informative to you, and hopefully you're going to consider some of these things, if not all of them, before you begin your farming journey. But the biggest I feel is passion. I think passion is what drives farming around. So when you're online there and you see a farmer has 300 dairy cows and they're getting this amount of milk per day and they've been in for 16 years or so, just know it's a journey. It's not a scam. They're not lying to you, but they've gone through the whole journey and figured out what to feed their cow. First of all, they figured out the genetics of the cows they have, that they can actually provide a certain number of milk. I've had people do even 60 liters a day. I've never seen that, but I believe it actually happens because these farmers have been through that journey. They figured it out. They know what their animals eat. They know how the animals want to feel to give optimal performance in terms of milk. They know how to treat the animals. It's a journey you get to learn through. It's a process, and you actually go through it all. And these farmers, if you only ask them, spend some time with them and ask them how they go there, they'll give you stories, and if you consider yourself, you probably not have done farming for those 16 years. They've been through up and down. They've lost the animals. They've been scammed. They've done everything. And finally, they are where they are because they had the passion to stick with it and actually achieve their dreams. So for me, I feel passion is the biggest thing for you to have. Do not just go into farming because you feel like you're going to make money immediately. No, it never happens. You're not going to it just because it looks cool. No, it never happens. If you have the passion for it, then you're going to make money out of it. I believe so, and you're also going to make it cool. At the end of it all. So yeah, those are some of the mistakes that beginner farmers actually make. We made some of them. Most of them actually made those mistakes. Some of them, but because we have passion, we are still here. We are not at the point where we are making lots of money from it, but we are still here. We have the passion to keep going to the next step now, which you also want to make some money from it. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you don't make any of those mistakes, because this video is actually for you, so that your journey is more successful than ours. And see you in the next one.